How's it? We are going to take our portrait photographs that we've taken and we're going to do some editing in Photoshop using a variety of tools to make it a little bit more grungy look to them. So open up in Photoshop, and before I forget, where does a dog, where could you find a dog if he's hiding by a house? If I were you, I'd look on the roof. And so what you're going to do is take your photograph and you're going to Command A, Command C, and make sure you download the original photograph. Don't get a smaller copy of it. You want the large original one. Copy it, hit Command N. Okay, we're going to be making our width is 4 inches and our height is 6 inches, and we hit OK. So it should look something like that. Now with our photograph, okay, so Command A, Command C, make sure, and then Command V, and it should be a little bit larger than what you had originally taken it as. So Command T, transform, and then go ahead and place it in the corner, and then hold down the Shift key and resize it accordingly. Now use vertical rule of thirds as much as possible. Try to keep it tight. Not too much headroom, but not too much cut off. Something like that. And again, it can be either way, facing this way or the other way. So the first thing what we're going to do is use a gradient. Okay, so with our layers, we're going to take our, make a new layer and call this gradient. And with our gradient layer, hit G for gradient to select it. Opacity, make sure that's 100% for now. And then you're going to choose a really creative colored gradient. And once you choose your colors, and make sure it's radial. It's the second option up here. And so double click your gradient that you chose, and if you want to change certain colors, you can double click and actually change the colors to something you want. So if you don't want darker colors, you can change them to more lighter colors if you prefer, which I kind of prefer. So I hit OK on that. So selecting the gradient layer and then G for gradient, we're going to click and basically make a radial gradient down here. Now the difference between radial is notice there's a circle and it spans out, whereas a normal one is just layers. We're going to use radial. So again, you can choose, kind of play around and decide how you want it to look. And then once you got the colors that you like, you can go here to normal and just hit color for your options. And you'll notice that it blends in that color with the photograph and creates a pretty cool effect to it. Now we're going to hide the gradient for now. And we're going to go to our curves, select on layer 1, which is our, we just call that girl. And then we can go to image adjustments, and we can change the curves. And then with the curves, click on the little hand arrow, and then make our whites a little bit whiter. So if you click on a white and drag it up, and then if you make the darks a little bit darker, okay, but not too dark. Okay, that's a little bit too dark, and you'll notice I'm kind of messing up on my curves. I might want to restart that. So image adjustments, curves, and then make this a little bit lighter, make this a little bit darker, and that looks pretty good. If the whole thing is just dark in general, you can go to adjustments and exposure and either bring it up or down based on the kind of look that you want. Okay. So now we can unhide our gradient to see how it looks and if it's vibrant enough. What we're going to do now is add a little kind of like a dot pattern grunge effect. With my girl layer, I'm going to hit a new layer. I'm going to call this pattern. And then I'm going to go into my channels and create a new channel. It's called alpha. Hit D on the keyboard as in dog and make sure that that's white. And then I'm going to hit B for brush. And for our brush, let's go about 1 135, somewhere in 130s. And then with my brush, I'm going to basically come in here and paint in some of the areas that the subject is not, kind of like outlining her a little bit. And then what I'm going to do is go to Filter, Pixelate, and Color Halftone. And I'm going to type in 32 for my number and hit OK. And notice it created a little pattern there. So I'm going to hit Command on the keyboard while clicking Alpha 1 so it selects those dots. I'm going to go here to Layers, and with my patterns, right here, you'll see they're selected here. So hit G on the keyboard for gradient, and then you can basically paint in those patterns with a gradient. Now if you want a different kind of gradient, you can do that as well, or if you wanted one color, if you want something more offsetting, you can choose that as well. So choose kind of like the gradient style feel you want for that. And then what you can do is hit Command D, and then with your patterns you can take the opacity down if you don't want it too blatant, and then Command T to transform to if you want, and then you can transform those shapes, and if you want to reposition those. And again, you can do those shapes again, and basically the way that you brush over and the amount of brush strokes that you have will create those patterns. Duplicate on the face and make it a little bit bigger, similar to this. See how we made it bigger than the actual? And so what I'm going to use is the Lasso Tool, and make sure you have Lasso, not magnetic lasso, but just Lasso is fine. And feather, I'm going to put at 55, and I'm going to create a new layer called face, and put that layer right under gradient. And I'm going to basically just do a rough sketch around her head, okay, and then hit Command C. Actually, go back to the girl layer, Command C, and then go to the face layer, Command V, and we just pasted it. Now hit V as in Victor, and we're going to move the face over just like that. Now I'm going to hit Command T as in Tom, and hold on the Shift key and make it bigger and larger. And you can decide, how big you want to make it. And then I'm going to hit Enter. Now, if it overlaps like this, you can hit E on the eraser tool. Make sure that face is highlighted, and then you can erase certain parts if you want it not to overlap on her face like that. Okay. So now what we're going to do is kind of create a border. So we're going to create a new layer, and we're going to call this Brush. And then B on the keyboard for brush. And I'm basically going to come in here, and there's a lot of different brush tools that you can use. I'm going to try, and again, you can play around with them, like thick wet media brushes. Those are usually fun. Okay, and then with these brushes, I'm going to kind of create like just an abstract pattern here. And again, you can choose like how you do it, and the size, of the brush, and the opacity, and the color, and all of that stuff. So I can just come in here and choose what I want to do. Now you can use your eraser tool, hit E, and with that same brush or a similar brush, you can go in here and erase parts of it if you want, just to give it more of a roughened look. And you can change the opacity if you don't want to totally erase it, and make the brush bigger, and it kind of just takes stuff away. It makes it more splotchy instead of such a thick area. So again, this is where you be creative and decide how you want to create your brush border. And if you don't want it very strong, you can take the opacity down. Okay, and again, it's right above the gradient layer, so you're going to have those colors. If you don't want those gradient colors, you could put it above it, and its true colors will show out. So that's up to you, just depending on what kind of brush strokes you want. But just make sure it's not too distracting. Like here, it's a little bit distracting near her head. So I'm going to tone that down a little bit on the brush. Now we're going to add some shapes. So again, with the we're going to go to the shape layers. So go where it says right here, the rectangle tool, the U as in unicorn, and go to custom shape layer. And we have a bunch of custom shapes here. If you notice here in the shapes, like we can add some shapes here if you want to add like a crown. And again, you can change the color according to what you want. But if you click on this little arrow, and you'll see all the different kind of shapes. Now, if it's for a girl, they have some good like nature shapes that may be more relevant. They do have flowery ones too. So I can draw some of these in here to be more artistic. Okay. And if you don't like I don't like the crown, it's kind of distracting, so I'm gonna just go ahead and delete that. And so maybe I want 2 of those leaf shapes. So I'm gonna duplicate that layer, maybe move it over a little bit, and Command T to transform. So again, you choose. Don't choose my stuff. You choose what you want to do for your artistic forms, for the shapes. But basically, the last thing we want to do is you may notice like there's some carpet here, and then there's this distracting shadow here that you might not want. So you can use your eraser tool. Go click on the original girl layer, hit the eraser tool, click on more of a solid brush, and you can go in and erase, you know, whatever you'd like to. So if we put it back, there we go. It's a little bit less distracting. Now this carpet though, I think I want to have a different color for this carpet. So I'm going to create a new layer. I'm going to put this layer on top. Actually, yeah, I'll put it down here. We'll call this floor gradient. And hit G for gradient. And here maybe I want a darker color. And what I'm going to do is basically paint it up. And I'm only going to use this bottom part. So I'm going to use the marquee tool. And you can change the opacity down so you can see what it looks like. And I'm going to actually come up here, and I don't want the gradient. I want us to stop maybe right around the carpet area. So I'm going to hit delete right there. So notice that it cut it off right here. But I'm going to drag that down behind everything so it's a little bit less distracting. And if you want to fade it in more, you can use the eraser tool and then change your brush to more of a soft brush. And then go in here and again just fade it in more if you want to fade it. So notice it's a little bit darker here than it is up there. Last thing I'm going to do is add the text layer. So I'm going to go in here, add T for text, and I'm going to put in her first name, J-I-N. Now if you notice, you can't really read it very well. So I'm going to take that and put it more up to the top layer, right below gradient. Actually, let's go above gradient so you can see it first. And we're going to go to the layer stars function, FX, and choose stroke. And then I'm going to choose a stroke color that's a little bit more offsetting, so it's a little bit easier to see, like a contrasting color than the color that's there. And then I'm going to increase the size, and you'll notice that it's a little bit more easier to see. So I can choose either to again, don't make it very big. You want their face and things to be seen first. So this is maybe a little too big, so I'll make it a little bit smaller. And then you can also do the opacity if you want to make it blend in more. Or you could put it behind the gradient if you want to be more colored in. And it kind of looks cool with these circles and like that. So yeah, so use your creativity. Use your minds and explore, and good luck on your creation.